Esports is well on its way to the Olympics. With recent times, the International Olympic Committee confirmed 100% that they are going to have esports. Now, there's a lot of talk and ramble as to what exactly in esports, but my first thought is definitely going to be fighting games, and we're going to have a huge reasoning why. So let's go ahead and break everything down. I feel that at one component, we're not necessarily going to see FPS there in that genre just immediately, but again, my opinion, maybe we can go back to this video and you can flame me later. And so let's talk about the fighting game criteria. Now, not just any fighting game criteria. We're going to break down why Tekken is the perfect game for the Olympics, especially moving forward into commercialism, mainstream components, overall how the game looks, and streamers and creators, also committee members, and also people are taking notice since EVO was the largest event in esports history. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, EVO was the largest esports event in gaming history. Round of applause, clap for yourselves, because people who deem video games to not be cool, it is getting larger and larger, not just in a streaming aspect where it's like I want to wake up and be a streamer, but partnerships, businesses, lifestyles, and just overall credibility of what you do as a career moving forward for when you get older. So don't let nobody really talk down on your dreams. Now, when it comes to the Olympics and Tekken, why I preach that Tekken is going to be the most perfect game for esports is a lot of aspects. Let's dive into some of them. So one being the fact that there's a major interview at EVO with IGN, and Tekken was breaking down a lot of that stuff. Next was that, and we're going to go over this interview right now, but next also to highlight something else is that a lot of creators are actually vouching for it and saying it's the overall best game that has a lot of diverse options as to why it can be exciting to have Tekken, you know, it being 3D, all the 50-50 mix-ups, aggro gameplay, the graphics. When we talk graphics, there has been tons of videos, even myself have looked back on the research of Tekken 7, and I look at it, the jump to Tekken 8 has been insane. Now, Tekken 7 was a 2015 game, so it is hard to really break down, of course, and verse that. A 2024 game versus a 2015 game is insane. That's a decade apart. So, but when you look at that massive jump, you can see the graphics, the gameplay, just the overall totality of how and why Tekken has mainstream. It has caught my eyes also, and this was my first ever Tekken I ever played. Now, when I say caught my eyes, it doesn't mean I didn't ever know about Tekken. I just always played Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. So yeah, that's that. Creators are just vouching for it all over the place. Now let's break down really in depth the full interview of everything. If you're still here on this video, you're definitely going to want to hear this as to why Tekken is perfect for the Olympics. So one being that they partnered up with Chipotle and Nike. So these are huge. Also, Chipotle is actually essentially sponsoring a lot of orgs, a lot of fighting game creators now. They're also looking for the best of the best in fighting, whether it's competitive or just creating or education. And there's a few educational Tekken creators also and fighting game creators that are really good. So and there's people like me who just create in totality. So if you do things that I do, or if you're just really good at the game, just know that Chipotle is really starting to look into. Also, they have a Nike collaboration. This is all Tekken, by the way. Tekken has a Nike collaboration also, and that's a first step and a major foot forward, because these are brands that, although Red Bull sponsors the best of the best competitively, Nike collaborating is just more for content, mainstream aesthetics, you know, like palettes, skins, or just whatever you want to buy for your avatar and stuff like that. So that's also huge. Another thing that this was all broken down in the interview too, right? This interview is very important that they were having at EVO. Next is going to be the defense updates. Like there is a, you know, obviously when the game launches fully aggro offensive gameplay, now they're starting to patch up the defensive updates, and there has been a lot of great stuff since January. So I got to give Tekken major props. It's the only game I ever want to keep coming back to and play, at least right now. I love Mortal Kombat. Street Fighter is still the full-on consistent one, but I think Tekken is giving us the updates, although we don't have a lot of guest characters, or a lot of just characters in totality. DLC, I would say. I'm used to saying guest characters because Mortal Kombat. But yeah, defensive updates have been going down, so that's always cool. And then in the interview, they also break down the actual mainstream vision. So the mainstream vision of Tekken, they show that they are really inspired the fact that, like, just creators other than fighting game people, I'm one of them. So they basically are talking to people like me who, like, it actually got in the hands of and they actually enjoy it, which is myself also. Tekken 8, I never played a Tekken up until Tekken 8. Now playing Tekken 8, I enjoy the hell out of it. It is damn fun. And I just can't stop. And they said that that's their vision. They wanted to get way more just casual players, not necessarily the general casual where they lose the culture of it, because they want to embrace that culture, but they still, in terms of fundamentals and the foundation components of Tekken and adapting to how fast it is now and how much aggressive it is now, but also keeping that foundation and fundamentals that all legacy players love, but while trying to adapt or adopt a lot of new players. And I'm one of those new players that they got. So shout out to you all. And then they just talk about all the viewers and players in totality, just who's doing it. Bigger YouTubers now wanting to play fighting games, sticking around after the initial launch for fighting games is also huge. And Tech has been doing a very good job at that also when it comes to just that. Now, don't get me wrong, there's tons of sweatfest going on in ranked modes and everything, but you still be able to find some of your kind in quick play where it's just like cool, you just play, you just have fun, learn new characters and all that stuff like that. Also the story, you know, their story, they're really trying to keep, Mortal Kombat was really good at updating that story of fighting games having a cool story. But Tekken 8 just keeps continuously trying to evolve with it also. But Mortal Kombat, in my opinion, has the best overall lore when it comes to story. But yeah, Tekken, they said they're really working in on that too, to bring in more casual aspects, bringing in other stuff for actual additional game modes, right? Additional game modes, like, of course, you know, your Tekken Ball and all that. And they want to just do more with the avatar essences. So more and more casuals, but not necessarily watering down. And that's always a hard thing when you bring mainstream. You don't want to lose the core aspects as to what made the game good. But you know the great players are going to play as long as we keep that foundation going. So it's pretty cool for them to be able to do that stuff. And then they said that they just have a huge investment for long-term players, right? That's going back to what I said. They want to keep it. They literally say that their vision is also the investment for the long-term players. Me, myself, am a brand new legacy player now. Since playing this game, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm playing Tekken every time it comes out again, because I just enjoyed it so much. If I could be an MK player, and MK has changed their game 4 times in the last 4 launches, while sort of keeping fundamental, not even like, I'll say a third of what they actually are, because every combo system has been different. A lot of things have been changed up. But if I could stick to there through thick and thin, I know like Tekken takes care of at least legacy gameplay. So if you learn this game, you put in a huge initial investment for like years to come. It's like Call of Duty also. The core aspects of Call of Duty stays the same, which is why legacy players are just welcome in with open arms, and they can just play the next one, the next one, the next one. It just takes them a quick, learn all the new mechanics, and then boom, you're ready to go, because the overall meaty process of the game is important for your long-term players, and Tekken has done amazing with that, thus taking it to the highest mainstream level this year. By no question, it is the superior fighting game, in my opinion. Street Fighter still gets way more in terms of enrollments at EVO or fighting games in totality. I just feel that Tekken is still the superior fighting game, at least from a mainstream standpoint. They said they also were not interested in any throwbacks or early games, at least in this interview. They said they were telling IGN that they're just like, yeah, we're just focused on the game now and what we can do moving forward. They'll bring back some other stuff, but they're not focused on like rematch. Kind of like how Marvel vs. Capcom brought back all the classics, netcode, rollback. They were talking about netcode, rollback, and all that stuff also. And they just talked about that they weren't interested in that they're interested more in just the frequency right now, the current times, and how they can, which is rightfully so. You can very much see that they are focused more on that, and it is by far a damn good. It's not a flawless game, but it is definitely my game of the year, just personally, for what it's teaching me, the learning curve, and just the overall experiences, the immersion with music and the hits and the punishes. Every move, every breath counts in Tekken. You get hit once, sometimes you're done for the day. You can get a full string, then you can get a wall splat. After a wall splat, if you like even try to wake up the wrong way, tech row or wake up, you could get punished right back again for what? Like, it's just insane, like how fast that game is. And rightfully so. It's such a beautiful experience, man. So, and speaking of the learning curve, they did also mention that they were continuously trying to build in those computers, kind of like how we see on the replay feature. Basically, the replay features of they're trying to make it the AI a lot smarter, a lot more advanced, so you can possibly train, I guess, accordingly for people like me who don't really have a group of friends that just jump in lobbies and train with all day. Because in ranked mode, you don't want to just lose your rank jumping in ice cold all day, especially as you get to higher ranks. So I guess to warm up efficiently, to get better practice, learning curves, and just to learn and understand everything, they're completely looking at the advancements of that. So that's huge, man. All of that is, it's like watching footage if you're like in a professional sport. So that's why, you know, in my opinion, for the detailed learning criteria, I feel that Tekken is definitely the superior one out of everything when it comes to the Olympics. It's perfect for the Olympics because of the 3D fighting, tons of different routes you can play, everybody's unique styles. People already do coaching all over the place in Tekken in between sets. And it's just, the learning curve is so high. To me, it's the hardest fighting game ever created in history. And I just feel that there's just a lot more action, and high-level Tekken is very exciting to play, especially if you have the right people announcing it. And in my opinion, I think Tekken usually has the best announcers that are helping out with these. Now, I know that's kind of a hot take because MK announcers are really good too, but I just feel that Tekken just has the overall, the cleanliness for a mainstream contribution. And I think games like Mortal Kombat, of course, are full of gore and blood. I don't think they would want to distribute that at the Olympics anyway. You know what I mean? There's not going to be like a viewer discretion and everything, all this stuff like that. Even YouTube doesn't like stuff like that all the time with Mortal Kombat content. So Tekken for sure like really takes the ball on that. All you have left is Tekken and Street Fighter. I think Tekken can open the door, and then Street Fighter can possibly be like right alongside as another option in the Olympics for like kind of like a sub-genre, subcategory, right? Olympics, there's tons of stuff like that, like 3-on-3 basketball, and there's full games of basketball, right? USA basketball and all that. Well, maybe you might have a sub-genre now of esports, and then you have esports. Then under you have like fighting games, and then under you could have like 2D fighting games and 3D fighting games. At least those that are don't need a huge viewer discretion, at least for now. And maybe if they get a lot of popularity, they'll have like just Street Fighter and Tekken, and then maybe later you bring Mortal Kombat. But again, that's a massively violent game. I'm not too sure like how much the Olympics would want that. But I don't think they're really pushing towards the FPS genre, because FPS has so much of their own leagues and everything like that. So I don't know if Olympics would want to pick that up. I think Olympics, the best thing to really think about, since they have wrestling, boxing, etc., etc., I would say definitely a game like Tekken would be the best attribute, because it's not necessarily like a UFC actual game, or it's not like a boxing game where you're going to see a lot of that stuff in real life and rights and copyrights and all that. It's just a fully fledged game that has a lot of tactics while still keeping a gaming feature, you know, the artwork, the aesthetics, the anime aspect outlook, but it still has a lot of realism to some of the punishments and how you would dodge fights and the frame battles and everything like that, you know, frame traps, jailing them and all that stuff, man. So in my opinion, what game would be great, especially since esports has at least gotten one of the first ever green lights to be like, yeah, it's going to be in the Olympics. It's approved. At least the International Olympics Committee. I think it's Tekken. It should always be Tekken, at least for now. It's the most polished game, I think, out of the three when it comes to the three-headed monster of fighting games, which is Street Fighter, Tekken, and Mortal Kombat. I also feel that they are well more involved in that culture when it comes to really highlighting a fight game that actually involves the tacticians of fighting up close combat, aside from like some characters that have projectiles, right? Like Mishima, you know, Claudio, June has a little bit of one. But yeah, I think Tekken, man. I can't really think of anybody else that would be perfect for an Olympic scenario if you're gonna bring games into there. And so yeah, y'all gotta be letting me know y'all's opinion. What game you think would be great for the Olympics? At least fighting game. I think for that component, for now, I believe it's just going to be fighting games is what they're talking about in the Esports Essential. And a lot of the reasoning why is because it took a lot of notice. Like when EVO broke records, now it's really for real. And it's fighting game genre that broke the records of attendance and actual entrance, like entries that basically wanted to compete. So now you got a great competitive level side, and you also got a great viewership side, mainstream, where people were at least willing to watch a 3-day event of fighting games. So pretty cool. We're lucky to be alive in these times as they continuously evolve. So y'all let me know y'all's opinion, man. I appreciate y'all. Peace.